Okay, hi everybody. I used to be in the financial sector, one of the Israeli banks. I was on the board of management. I also was the chairman of the board in several occasions, part of the bank, one bank that we established in the United States, and I was also a chairman of a credit card company here. 10 years ago, I retired, and then I started to be my career as an executive coach, also teaching leadership and mindfulness, and there are some very important for me social activities that I do together with bringing mindfulness into various circles, like inmates in jails that I did for 5 years, practicing meditation with them. Older people also doing meditation, and now I just recently started practicing with mental illness people, try to see what's in it for them and can they benefit from it or not.
One sentence to define yourself. Can be one word.
A very curious person.
Interesting. And then your hobby?
Sending my hands to everywhere.
Sending your what?
My hands trying to grab, to understand, that's what I would describe myself. Hobby, right now, it's a new one.
Okay.
I restarted playing piano. That's what I do. Okay.
Interesting.
Enough.
Thank you.
Right.
We have with us Shiri, Aviel. Both Shiri and Zeev are sort of leading and actually founded the Center of Mindfulness Leadership in Israel. Shiri, tell us a little bit about yourself in terms of defining yourself and in terms of your hobbies.
I'm an organizational psychologist, and I met mindfulness while I was living in Toronto in 2005. A precious friend brought me a present, John Kabat-Zinn's meditations CDs. And then I started to practice, and I felt the strong impact it had on me. And that really laid the ground for the future program Zeev and myself developed here in Israel. My hobbies, mainly dancing and baking cookies with my youngest daughter.
Dancing, we're speaking about hip-hop, or we're speaking more about...
Everything, Zumba, hip-hop, whatever she likes.
Okay. No favorite. Okay. Now we have two people. We're going to get more in depth in a few minutes about this aspect. We have now two people from Bank Hapoalim. Both of them participated in a course conducted by this center in different times. In both cases, that was a course that was only for managers in Bank Hapoalim. We have with us Orit Michael, who is now the Deputy Director of the Department of Pension Consultants in Bank Hapoalim. Again, I'm going to ask you in a couple of minutes, both of you, about your experience, but for now, just tell us about, in one sentence, about how would you define yourself and your hobbies.
One sentence about myself is that I think I'm a people person. I believe that everything in life is relationship. And my hobbies, I'm learning to be a parent educator by the Alfred Adler approach. Wish me luck.
Do we have you a fan of soccer or something like that?
I hate soccer.
Okay. Okay, which team?
Huh?
Which team are you a fan? Oh my God. Okay, that's difficult. We have with us Shmulik. And your last name, sorry?
Owen.
Owen, yeah. Okay, sorry about that. Who is now the manager of a branch of Bank Hata'asiyah. It's
Bank Hapoalim in Bet
Bank Hata'asiyah, the branch is...
the industrial house.
And that is his third branch.
Yeah.
Well, I want to tell us a couple of words about yourself in terms of...
I'm working in finance for the last 20 years in various parts. It started in the retail section of the bank. And this is my third part as a branch manager. Defining myself, I love life. And I love to live. And I think in this country, it's one of the most essential qualities needed. And you wanted to know about my hobbies?
Yeah.
My hobbies are all around sports all the time. Now it's mainly cycling, swimming, and running. It's called triathlon,
Yeah.
or Ironman in the most extended version of it. And I hope that I will do best in it.
Thank you. Okay, so actually hold this for a second. My name is Roni Shachar. I have a PhD in economics, postdoc at Harvard Economics, and then my first job as a professor was at Yale School of Management. Came back to Israel, spent most of my years at Tel Aviv University. For the last 5 years, I've been in the IDC, Interdisciplinary Center, known in Israel as Ben Tchumi. During most of that time, I was the dean of the Harrison School of Business over there. I do practice meditation, and I did actually, a few months ago, taught a course about VUCA, which I understand some of you have attended the session about that earlier today. And one of the session, a 4-hour session, was about mindfulness in business. So I have some experience with that, but to a large degree, I'm like you. I'm sort of a student of this, and I'm eager to learn more about that. So we're going to start with you two who have experienced that. And what I want to hear from you is, what is your main takeaway from the course, main benefits that you've received, and the main added value? Pick up whatever you want. Tell us a little bit about what's the impact on you. We're going to start with the impact, and then we're going to move and try to understand what's happening in such courses. And finally, we're going to try and give a context to what's happening over there. So just either one of you can talk about benefit, added value, or takeaways.
Okay, I think there's two main benefits. One is on a personal level of me. All the transitional meditation that we do between transaction and between tasks that you do at work, it helped me a lot to concentrate, to be more effective, to be more aware of what I'm doing. You know, it's in the beginning, when we started the course, it seems like it's contradicting everything we learned about being a manager. Because you've always been expected to do a lot of tasks simultaneously, to be a multitasker, to do a lot of things in a short period of time. And when we started the course, it gave us another approach about it. It said, okay, if you want to do something right, you have to clear your head before it, and you have to be very much focused about what you're doing, because your mind, even in the normal stage of it, is always wandering around. You have to grab her and put her in a place and be very concentrated what you do, and it will increase your efficiency. So in my level, I use it also in a personal level, before coming back to my house to see my family and kids. Most of the time when you come, you return from work, you carry on your shoulder the entire day of work. You're coming home and everybody's speaking about what they have, and you don't even listen. And what I did, it was after the course, it's that in the parking lot for 2 minutes, I'm sitting before I'm coming back to work, and I'm just doing a small meditation. And when I'm coming home, I'm able to receive whatever they have been through all the day, and to hear and participate with them.
So just a quick question. Your spouse will say that you're a different person after the course?
No, I think that everything in life is with small steps.
Okay.
There's no drama here.
She have witnessed the effect on you, you think?
Yeah. I think the kids also, because now I'm more involved with their school, with their friends, with everything, because I have the time and I have the ability to absorb from them. Before that, it was all work. Everything was mixing around. I think in the second effect that we had, it's on my staff and on my clients. Because when you're working very intense, most of the time you're labeling people, people and workers. Let's say, for instance, some customer will come to me, I would say, okay, he's a good customer, whatever he was going to ask, I'm going to approve. I don't really listen to what he has to say. I'm just finding excuses to give him an approval. And now, when a customer comes to my office for a meeting, I'm trying to be more open about it, to forget everything I knew about, not to be judgmental, and to see for the case itself, is it right to approve him or not?
Do you feel like it requires more effort from you?
At the beginning, yes, because it's not something that it's natural, because you've been trained all your life. Here in Israel, school, army, and I've been a lot of years in the army. You've been trained to do what you're told and to do it fast. And here they tell you, give it a break. Take a moment or 2 moments of quiet, clear your head, be focused, and then do what you need to do.
Okay, I want to follow up on this, but let's go to Reed for now and tell us a little bit about your experience.
Okay, what did I take? In one word, focus. Focus, focus, focus. I think that after these 5 meetings we had, it was like a big impact on my personal life and my work life. Definitely, both. And I think that if all the last years I believe that multitasking, juggling, was one of the qualities I had, I realized that it's a weakness. That by trying to do so many things together, I don't really pay attention to anything. And people around me and me usually suffer because I'm being not respectful. I don't really give 100% for what I do, and I should stop doing that. So I decided to focus. I'll just give a little example, talking about spouses and houses.
Yeah.
After the first meeting, Shiri and Zeev asked us to take a one daily activity and think about it and try to do it different. So I decided to think about brushing my teeth. Because every morning I used to go into the bathroom, take my toothbrush, start it, the electronic toothbrush, and immediately start walking around the house, fixing the house. So I used to walk around, pick up clothes, shoes, open cabinets, stuff like that. The morning I took the course, I tried to wash dishes while I was brushing my teeth. The toothbrush fell into my sink, of course, and broke. So I decided to change it. So that was my homework. The next day I came into the bathroom. It was obvious it's going to be very easy. I mean, why is it so hard not to leave the bathroom? I couldn't do it. So I decided to close my eyes. So I was standing, I'm 48 years old, standing in the bathroom with my eyes closed, trying not to leave the bathroom. That was very hard. It took me many days. My spouse joked, whenever the girl said, "Where is mommy?" he used to say, "She's standing with her eyes closed in the bathroom. Don't interfere." I can tell you now that a few months later, I can brush my teeth with my eyes open. So that's a progress.
What I'd like to hear from you two is, for now, again, we're going to come back to those issues. What would you define as the main aim? What would you like to hear as the main takeaway that people who take such a course take with them? And we'll get later to what's happening in the course, but what would be the main aim?
I think that the main aim is mind training as a way to cultivate and strengthen the manager's capacity to lead with more focus, clarity, connection, inward and outward, and compassion. And we believe and we see that this kind of training enhances both productivity and well-being on the individual and organizational level. So this is the main aim.
Productivity and well-being. Zeev, would you like to add to that?
I'm trying to think. Bringing mindfulness in, and marry it with leadership. The leadership in the business world, which I had my experience, is very action-oriented, quick, and goal-oriented, which is okay. And yet it looks like that in the Argaz HaKelim, what do you say? The toolbox, there's something, a very big something which is missing. And what we try to do and to think about is to bring and to derive from, I would say, for myself, from Buddhism, from what it means, something that could be translated into actual tools that can be put into this toolbox and enable them to broaden the repertoire of how do I work, how do I align my people, motivate my people, direct my people. And that I think the main issue that I see. Especially, you mentioned before the VUCA environment, and that's what we need now. 10, 20, 30 years ago, a manager could be just a manager. I mean, there wasn't those rapid pace of the change. And now it's there, so you need another kind of leadership, and you need new tools, mainly those that can enable you to transform yourself better to what's happening in the world, in the outside.
So you have experience, Shiri just told us a second ago that we are speaking about well-being and productivity. We've seen here that we are speaking about personal life and we're speaking about business, So these are two dimensions in which mindfulness can have an impact. You have experience right now, both in your background in business, in financial sector, which we're going to get to, but you also have experience right now in the other extreme with mentally ill people and trying to teach them or conduct with them some kind of mindfulness. Yeah. What would be the one thing that you would focus on when speaking with business people, which is very unique to them? You mentioned leadership, I was just trying to get a little bit more on that.
For me, leadership is being able to be more responsible. More responsible, to lead your people, to make sure that you do your best toward changes in the future, and to align the people. That's only in few words. There's a big world beyond those words, but I don't want to take all the time.
Okay, good. Let's come back to you guys and pick up, each one of you who wants to speak about that. Let's now speak in more details about what's happened. You mentioned about what's happening in the bathroom, but what happened in your business, okay? The first week, but even, 3 weeks later, did your coworker experience any change? Was there a different dynamics in the group that you were working with? Did it affect other people in other departments in any way? What was the impact?
Very good, wonderful question. Coming back to work, I realized, it's a 5-day course. I realized that since I'm in charge, I have some workers who are in the field and some in my office. I spend 90% of my time sitting in front of a computer. So for me, interaction, even though I said 10 minutes ago that I'm a people person, I suddenly realized that for many, many years, for me to sit in front of the computer was the main task, and every person coming into my office, or God forbid, call me, for me, that was interrupting. Even though I have so many workers in the field and communicating for them was only by phone calls. So to do my job right, I needed to be really concentrate on the phone calls or the other workers coming in asking for help or just want to tell me what they did. But I couldn't be interrupted.
Did they experience that? People who walked in the office?
Yes. People used to come and say, you're always busy. It's impossible to talk. And I thought that's wonderful because I don't spend time, chatting on the corridor or talking to people because I'm just focusing on my work. People on the phone used to say a few sentences, and then I said, okay, that's it? They said, what do you mean that's it? We want to say some other stuff. And I said, okay, call me later. That was terrible. And then after the course, I realized that really, like I said before, multitasking is my fault because people are calling me. For the first minute, I'm trying to behave. I hold the phone and I say yes, and I'm listening. But the second minute, I go back to the computer. And then I find myself keep on saying, can you please repeat it? I didn't understand. What did you mean? Really being disrespectful and not really understanding what's going on and definitely not doing my job. And then after the second or the third meeting, I had a meeting with all my workers and I said, listen, I want to make a change. I don't like it. I don't like it about myself. And everybody were joking about me. Everybody said, yeah, we don't like it either. So thank God you realize it. And then we decided that we'll do two things. First of all, we opened the chat room. And now like 50% of all the communication is in the chat room, which really helped me. And the other thing was that from now on, and you can come to my office if you want to examine it, whenever somebody comes into my office or make a phone call, the first thing I'll do, I'll remove my hand from the keyboard and I'll lean backwards. It's a joke, but that's what I do, because that's the only way to focus, like I said before. And I believe that relationship is crucial. So I should be more respectful.
Do you find that it requires reminding, or once you
Yes.
have, it become a practice, become a habit of yours?
I need to do it all the time. I mean, it's true that it's easier now, but I always have to think about it.
Like, think about taking the course as an intervention in
Yes.
your life.
Yes.
And it has an effect for a while.
Right.
But then how do you maintain it later on? How do you...
Well, first of all, I get very good feedback from people. Like if I decided to become a better listener, now I see that, like I decided that, I mean, in the beginning we had, that's another example. In the course, they ask us to do an exercise, try to listen to someone. And I thought I'm wonderful at that. And I sat in front of someone, forced myself not to speak. But I saw that after the first 2 minutes, I stopped listening. I just kept on thinking, what should I answer? But then I understood that I cannot talk, because everybody was looking at me. So I said, okay, I'm not going to answer. I'll just say, yes, of course, the same. Yeah, I felt it. So I failed it. But then I came to work and I said to everybody, I want to do it. So please react to me. If you see that I don't listen, say something. So it was a joke at the beginning maybe, but now I'm doing much better, but I'm still working. But I need the feedback, and people around me should be aware that I'm trying to listen, to focus, and I'm against multitasking.
That's good. Shmulik, let me ask you a similar question in that dimension, which is, think about water, drops, and then there are waves. And the intervention was like a water dropping inside of you, and there are waves. Where did it reach in your business? Did it change the people who were working with you? Did people who were working with you as a result felt that they needed to take a course like that? What was the impact on the culture of your...
The impact was gradually growing up. It's not, it's like when you throw a stone into a lake, and it started with a small wave and another bigger wave. And they couldn't go to that course because it's course for managers only, so my staff is not able to do it. But I think that 2 or 3 weeks after we started the course, they saw the change, because even in a daily routine that we had, let's say, for instance, we have a staff meeting. Most of our staff meeting was like a task meeting. I would sit at the head of the table, or the department manager would sit in front of me, and they would get tasks and write it down. Somebody was writing the protocol, and afterwards I was checking to see if everybody's doing exactly like I said. And after I did the course, the first staff meeting, we sat down and I said, okay, people, I want to hear from you a little bit about last week. What happened? What do you think we did good? What do you think we need to do better next week? What we can use, what we can avoid? And they were like shocked, because they were all waiting down with their pencils to write down and to say, oh, whatever it's going to be this week, it's going to be hard and everything. And I think that it made a change because they got opened. And I saw that there is a lot of input from the workers that are sitting with the clients and that I didn't know. A lot of input, important input about things that we need to do in the branch, things that we need to do to the customers, things we need to do inside to improve our work. A lot of knowledge was there, and I was never exposed to it. It just came out. People were not afraid to say what they want. The second thing that happened is that, unfortunately, I think most of the people are labeling people. So do I. So in each branch, you have the star, that it was always the bright one, always making the task and taking the assignments and leading, and you have somebody that is more gray to the operational work, and most of the time you don't listen to the other words that are gray.
Yeah.
After the course, I tried to be more open about those people and to hear from them what they've been through this week, from the last session that we've been through. And I was amazed. I told in one of the courses that I wanted I wouldn't say to fire her, but to move her to another place without a computer and a telephone. And she was always doing the same thing and never succeeding to do anything. And she came to me one day and she said, I have a lawyer that I met him at the evening when I went with my mom to do something, and at the first minute I wanted to tell her okay and to go to the computer and to send some mails, and then I said, you know what, sit down, I want to listen to you. I took out the computer on the side, put my phone on silent, I said, okay, I'm listening, what do you want to say? And after that, she was surprised, and she told me about this lawyer, and we recruited to the bank, and he gave a lot of businesses until now. And I'm thinking to myself that if I wasn't aware of it, and if I wasn't listening to her, we could have lost so many opportunities. So I think this was the most two effects on the...
You mentioned earlier, the fact that in Israel, people are expected to deliver. And that's something, as you said, but think about Israel. Israel, the manager, supposed to make decisions.
Everybody's here knowing one another from the army, and you have to be tough, and you have to give orders, and you have to be a leader. To be a leader is not to listen, it's to lead, to show people the way, because they're trusting you, they're supporting you. If you could say, okay, guys, what we're going to do now, it means that you're not leading, you're asking.
Exactly.
You're not the professional. But surprisingly, it's working, because I don't think that people now, the workers in my branch, are disrespectful or they're appreciating me less because I'm asking the question. I think it makes them more involved because, before that, most of the goals of the bank, of my branch, were like goals that we need to do. They didn't really agree with it. They didn't really believe in it. Yeah. And now when it's coming from them,
they're more involved.
They're more involved because they're searching for answer. And it's a lot easier to manage the branch now.
Let me make just a break. I just got the signal that we have 5 more minutes. I took time, we've got 26 more minutes based on the 50 minutes. And I want us to continue this discussion, so I'm just...
7 minutes, but we're changing all the breakouts, so...
Okay. I will walk based on this thing. What I wanted to get from you is, we've communicated earlier, and we spoke about meditation, and she was telling me meditation is just not so small, just a small part of what's happening. So I'd like to know a little bit about what's small, what else is happening, which other tools, mechanisms, methods are you using that you think are important in that course that these guys experience?
So the main building blocks in our program are attention. This is the fundamental building block. And then we continue and practice managerial presence, mindful communication, it's attuned speech and listening, self-regulation, reactivity regulation, and judgmental processes regulation. We're also talking about how to build a mindful team and to cultivate mindful interfaces. And these are the main building blocks. And I think, and we use several kind of techniques during the program, mainly short and practical mini meditations, such as transition meditation that Shmulik has mentioned. It's a very short, 2-3 minutes mini meditation, and it's about bringing back your attention to the present moment while moving from one task, one meeting to another. And I think that as when you start to practice mindfulness and when you start to be more aware to the present moment, you start to act more precisely and less be operated by the automatic pilot modes. And that's the fundamental core of our program.
Zeev, let me ask you the following. You mentioned VUCA earlier. Mindfulness has become more popular in the last decade or so. Is it also in the business sector, also in management? Is it because of VUCA? Or just it's, the evolution of mindfulness, or anything else in the business sector that made it more popular recently?
Several answers, I think.
Sorry, VUCA is a description of the real world as volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous. So it's very difficult to manage in a world that is unstable and uncertain. So, sorry.
Yeah, I think that VUCA presented a new problem to the business world as well. And that to see that the traditional tools don't work as well as they should and did before. So that's one reason. But why mindfulness and not other things? First of all, I think that all the time there's a lot of trial and error with systems, etc. Mindfulness, that's something that was invented 2,500 years ago in the Buddhism.
Yeah.
There's a specific word for it, sati, and it's full of meaning. And I think that in the last 50 years or so, the Western world imported the Buddhism and translated into Western language, and finally, thank God, it arrived to the business world as well. That's my basic
So you
understanding.
think it's part of the culture, and business is part of that as a result?
Of course, but business wouldn't do it unless there's some utility for them, for that. I mean, the benefits, I mean. And that's, I believe that's the main reason. They are still driven by, show us the profit. And that's okay. I don't think that we want to change the world for the moment.
Okay.
And yet we want to show people with the course and teach them that there is a more lot over what they are used to, with what Shmulik described, that what's the typical managerial tasks, etc.
Okay, I'm still getting signals that we are almost, that we are done, but let me still ask a couple of questions. To you guys, look, I've been the dean of a business school with 3,000 students, 400 teachers, etc., for almost 4 years. I was very mindful. I did meditation, and I had a colleague that insisted you should integrate it into the system, either through your students or through your workers. I didn't do that because there was always something more important, more urgent to do. And my question to you is, how would you convince me, or you convince anyone else, to actually do it? Not only in why should we do it, but how do we actually make time to it? So I'm actually asking you guys rather than you guys, because I want to get your experience into that.
Okay, so maybe I'll start by saying that we're talking about a 5 days course, which is like half a day, and which is
No, once in 2 weeks.
once every 2 weeks, yeah. So first of all, it's not a lot of time. Then Shiri and Zeev had mini meditation that they recorded for us, so we could do it at work. The other wonderful thing was that whenever we took the course, it was always like with other few people from our department. So everybody were like talking the same language, which could be good if you do it at university. Because then somebody could say, did you meditate today? So they said, okay, come to my office at 10 o'clock, we'll do a little bit. Or, if I didn't listen, somebody will jokingly say, listen in, so we were all into that. So it's always wonderful to bring it to a place where everybody worked together or start talking the same language. So that was good. And it really helped my business. And I think it's going to be wonderful for students, 10 minutes meditate and then do your exam. You'll get a good grade for your business course. So.
Again, we're almost out of time, it seems. So I'd like to ask you one question and you one question, and then maybe we'll take a question or two from the audience. Look, intervention works. Here's what I mean by intervention works. Each time that you're taking people from their offices and they're doing something else, even if they would have played soccer, something would have happened in their life just because you're taking them from the automatic way that they do their lives. So it seems like intervention works because of the placebo effect, right? What do you think is the added value other than this placebo effect that is happening here, other than the fact that these guys just took a to look at their life for a second? What's the main thing? Go ahead.
I think playing soccer is a wonderful and very recommended activity. And I'm pretty sure that if managers would have engaged in team building activities a bit more, it would have been a benefit. But we're talking about something else here. We're talking about a deeper layer and a long-term change. And science and our personal experience tells us that practicing mindfulness changes the way you perceive, the way you think, the way you act in the world. It's a way of being in the world. So I think it's a bit different from playing soccer,
Yeah, okay.
although Zeev is a big fan of soccer. And neuroscience can tell you also the answer, because when they compare experiment group to control group, which gets placebo treatment, some kind of treatment, there are huge differences between the mindfulness training and the placebo training. So
Excellent.
this is research.
Last question on my side, actually, again, to you guys, which might be the opposite direction in a sense. If you have to guess, okay, take a leap 50 years from now, okay, and you will look at what's happening today in terms of mindfulness getting into the business world, will that be a trend? Will that be something, what would be your guess? Is it something that is happening right now but will go away, or is it going to change businesses as we know it?
I don't think it's going to be a trend, because